Hi, everyone. Welcome to your pre-recorded April 13th Muckboots in the Capital weekly update from Friends of Family Farmers. We are giving you this update in a pre-recorded fashion because my name is Alice Morrison. I'm the co-executive director of policy and development for Friends of Family Farmers, and I am at a conference in Ashland today. So this is your update for April 13th for the state legislative session here in Oregon. Again, my name is Alice Morrison. I'm the co-ED of Friends of Family Farmers, and I'm in charge of our policy work. So today we are going to be talking about FOF priority updates. Where are we in terms of the session calendar? What's to look for? Some budget priorities that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the session and looking ahead. So first and foremost, we'll be discussing the status of our two priority areas. The first of which is our state meat inspection bill to get staff time for Oregon Department of Agriculture for the state meat inspection program for inspector positions specifically. That is HB 2164. No updates still. It is in Ways and Means and has been for quite some time. Now that we're past the first chamber deadline, we will start to have more opportunities for activism on this, but we'll talk about that more in just a moment. But we are very grateful for the bipartisan and unanimous support that this bill had when it passed out of the House Agriculture Committee earlier this session. Ways and Means Roadshow is still going on. So if you are available to give virtual testimony during the Salem statewide virtual preferred testimony option on the 16th, or if you're in the K Falls area and you want to attend the Ways and Means Roadshow to talk about how important this program is, please get in touch with us by emailing info@friendsoffamilyfarmers.org, and we can help you get you set up for those roadshows. All right, so now we're going to talk about small farm water access. So we have been supportive of and working through HB 3372 with the -5 amendment that was adopted at the hearing. And the -5 amendment replaced the bill. So before the hearing on April 7th, the bill pretty much just said directing OWRD to study groundwater and domestic wells. The bill that we are supportive of was contained in the -5 amendment, which was added to it during the work session last week. And that consists of the -5 amendment. It's an amendment to allow folks to use current exemptions to have a commercial garden, essentially. So right now in Oregon, you are allowed to irrigate a ½ acre of land with a domestic well without a water right at any amount that you would like. There is no limit on how much you can use to irrigate that ½ acre of land. But you can only use that for a lawn or personal garden, so non-commercial garden. We are adding, in this bill, you're adding the ability to use that ½ acre for a commercial garden, part or whole of that ½ acre, whatever you so choose. And there is a limit that you may only use 3,000 gallons per day to irrigate that ½ acre. That does apply to both commercial and non-commercial gardens and lawns. So it is a new cap on that ½ acre, but allows for commercial production, which is really what we were getting at with this bill. So it also stipulates that the irrigation for the ½ acre plus whatever you use for the other currently allowed commercial or industrial purpose. Currently, that exemption is 5,000 gallons per day for any commercial or industrial use. That excludes irrigated agriculture. We are saying you can use up to 3,000 of that 5,000 total for irrigation, and you can use that other 2,000 for whatever you need to on your farm. Most people use it for post-harvest handling or making value-added products under the Farm Direct Producer Process exemption, things like that to get your crop ready to go to market or to turn it into something that's shelf-stable that you can bring. All of that good stuff still allowed, but that must be total 5,000 gallons per day. Cannabis is excluded. So this applies to commercial gardens of all crops, excluding cannabis. This is something that the sponsor wrote into the bill. And I also think, oh, that's the last thing. But the other thing to note on this is that it was clarified in the work session last week that there is no reporting or metering required in this bill, but the enforcement standards would remain the same that they are now. So right now, if you are using a domestic well inappropriately, if you are using more than your 15,000 gallon domestic allotment, if you're using more than your 5,000 gallon commercial allotment, if you're using it for any purpose not included in the exemptions, then you could be asked to get a meter as part of an enforcement proceeding. So that would still be true. It's just that this type of use that we're talking about right here, so growing commercially on a half acre using no more than 3,000 gallons per day, that would not constitute an illegal use. So you couldn't be asked to meter based on that. Okay, so what we know now, like I said, the hearing was conducted on April 7th, 2025, so last Monday. It was an incredible showing. Really proud of the folks who stepped up. We had great testimony from our coalition. Thank you so much to Chris Hall from Water League, Linda Mueller from Plug, Michelle Townsend, a board member of the Oregon Farmers Market Association, and Mark Noah from the Oregon State Grange. I'm sorry they didn't get to Mark's testimony, but it was really powerful to have him on our list, and he did submit it in writing. Thank you so much, Mark. And then we heard from some of our farmers as well, from Washington County, Lane County, Harney County, and Jackson County. And I think it was really great for those folks who were able to raise their voices. We also had 265 pieces of written testimony on the record in support of this bill. Tremendous showing from the community. Thank you so much for everyone who took the time to submit that. That written record goes with this bill for its entire life. So when we get to the Senate, we don't have to start from ground zero there. We get to start with 265 pieces of supportive testimony, which is incredible. The work session or committee vote was conducted on the 9th, so Wednesday, and it did pass out of the committee. So woohoo, that's great. Wonderful. First hurdle surmounted there. So yes, we get to go now to a floor vote. We passed out of the House Ag Committee, and we will get to go to a floor vote in the House. So after a bill gets out of its first chamber committee, if it's not referred to Ways and Means, if it's going to go to another policy committee in the second chamber, what have you, it has to go to the floor for a vote in its first chamber. So we started in the House. So now that we passed out of House Ag, we are going to go, our bill is going to be carried to the floor by Representative Mark Owens, one of the co-chairs of that committee and our sponsor. And he will carry that to the floor, and then everyone in the chamber, so all of the representatives, not just those on the committee, but every single representative, I believe there are 60 of them here in Oregon, gets to vote on this bill next week in the floor vote. So that's very exciting. We have high hopes and every reason to believe it will go well, but we'll keep you updated if we have any doubts. There was no fiscal impact assigned to this bill, and that again speaks to the intention that enforcement will remain the same, and that with this bill, metering will not be required. It will only be if you are seen to be in violation through a complaint being made or a department investigation. That's the only way that would happen. And they don't anticipate that this will vastly increase the needs, the personnel needs and time needs at the agency. And so they did not assign a fiscal impact to this bill. It's just a change in policy, not requiring more resources from the state. So that's a good thing, because if we had a fiscal impact assigned to this bill, we would automatically have to go to Ways and Means. And we're going to talk about that. And Ways and Means is the joint committee that talks about money. Anything with a price tag has to go to Ways and Means. And it has senators and representatives together on those committees. And they are the ones who decide how the state spends its money. And they have a long list of things to take care of already. And I think that with the budget reconciliations, it will only grow. So it's a good thing that we're not going to get stuck in that mire in Ways and Means, because they are going to be very busy and making some very difficult decisions. So after it passes off of the floor, fingers crossed, we are very hopeful, but I never want to say something is a sure thing until it happens. So after the vote, and if it passes off of the House floor, it will be assigned to a committee in the Senate. and then we'll start that process over again. So we will await our committee assignment. We are likely going to be assigned to Senate Natural Resources because that's where a lot of the agriculture discussions happen. But hey, we could be assigned to a different committee. Again, don't want to say anything definitively until we know for sure, but we will be assigned to a Senate Policy Committee if it passes off the floor. So then we get to do it all again. So in the Senate, we will go through the same process with this bill that we went through in the House. We will have to have a public hearing and a work session put on the calendar by the committee chair who does the scheduling there. So look out for that. And there will be another opportunity for public testimony in the Senate. And that will probably be, we will definitely know what's going to happen in early May, if not before. So look out for updates, and don't worry, you won't be able to miss them if you're subscribed to our email list or follow us on social media. Okay, so now that we've come through the first main barrier of the session, and I wanted to just ground us in like where we are in the session, what process we will be using going forward, and what markers we're going to be looking for, like important dates and deadlines. So we have 5 deadlines or dates that I am personally looking at as very important for the rest of the session. So the first one, like I said, we will know something in early May about where our bill is definitively, because the session second chamber scheduling deadline, is on May 9th. So May 9th is when all bills that are going to stand a chance have to be scheduled for, they have to either have their public hearing completed or scheduled, and they must have a work session on the calendar by the end of the day on May 9th. So that's the first barrier. We need to make sure that we're on the committee calendar by the end of the day on May 9th. Then on May 14th, this one doesn't pertain necessarily to the water bill, but it pertains to all of our other bills that require money to move forward. May 14th is the final revenue forecast of the session and what will be the basis for budget reconciliation when Ways and Means committees do that. So the revenue forecast on May 14th, if that is favorable and the state thinks it will have more money than they thought originally, then maybe more things will get funded in bills and agency budgets. If the May 14th revenue forecast is unfavorable and they think they'll have less money than first projected, that could be a barrier, and that we will have to fight for our priorities pretty hard. So May 14th is another date that we will know more about what we need to do for the last month of session after May 14th. So to back up to May 9th, those work sessions have to be scheduled. And then on May 23rd, those work sessions must be complete. So all Senate committee votes, I'm saying Senate, it's really second chamber. So the second chamber committee vote deadline or work session deadline is May 23rd. For our water bill, that's the Senate. So that's why I put that on the slide. It's a little misleading. It's just the second chamber. If we had started in the Senate, it would say the House. But yeah, second chamber committee vote deadline or work session deadline is May 23rd. So just like we had April 9th as our big deadline for the first chamber, and everyone was so stressed out about getting everything voted on and through the process by the end of the day on April 9th, that will happen again on May 23rd with the second chamber. And then we chug along until June 18th. So between May 23rd and June 18th, they will be having lots and lots of floor sessions to pass bills out, to send them to the governor. They will be having all kinds of conversations in Ways and Means, and really trying to hammer out final details. And June 18th is a target sine die. So the sine die is a Latin term for the end of the session. June 18th is when they're projecting the session to be over. June 29th is the constitutional deadline. It is over on the end of the day on June 29th. That's a Sunday, by the way. So that will, those deadlines are the end of session. So we're hoping that session will end on June 18th. It could theoretically extend to June 29th if loose ends are not tied up, but we will see how it goes. So those are the big deadlines and dates to watch for the rest of the session. All right, so I've mentioned our budget priorities quite a lot, and I just wanted to take a moment to highlight the things that we will be really pushing for in a budget letter that FOF will write and be circulating during the second half of the session to show like what investments we think the state should make to benefit small farms and community food systems. So the biggest ones that we have here, HB 2164, obviously that's our priority bill. The funding for the state meat inspection program, staff time, FTE, 2 FTE over the course of the biennium. That is our number one priority because that's a FOF generated bill. That's our priority bill. We want that bill to be funded so that ODA can deliver on its promises and really bring all the investment that agency and the state has had into the state meat inspection program to fruition and help our farmers be able to bring their product to market. Then the second one is HB 2979, the Food System Resilience Grant Funds. This is another bill that we've been working on pretty heavily in coalition with our friends at Oregon Farmers Market Association, the Oregon Community Food Systems Network, and the Oregon Climate and Agriculture Network. And this bill would renew grant funds for OCFSN and OFMA to do climate and disaster resilience programming for small farms and ranches, farmers markets, and food hubs to really build more resilience in our agricultural communities and help us weather storms so that we do not have to just put band-aids of disaster relief on them afterwards. Then we are looking at SB 611, that is Food for All, the Oregon Food Bank priority. And when more people have funding to eat, it benefits us all. And this bill has been narrowed to only children in early childhood. So I believe it's 0 to 6. And that bill passed out of its Senate committee and is going to Ways and Means. FOF is very much in favor of folks being able to feed their children and those most vulnerable. So this is a good thing in our mind because SNAP dollars also have a really, really powerful economic impact, and especially disproportionately in agricultural communities. So check out our testimony on SB 611 for more information and the citations on those statistics, because very interesting. Double Up Food Bucks is another thing that we will be supporting. Of course, Double Up Food Bucks is a SNAP matching program for fresh fruits and veggies, beans, mushrooms, plant starts at farmers markets, CSAs, farm stands, and some grocery stores. So getting folks more buying power to incorporate more local and seasonal foods into their diet. And it helps put more money into the farmer's pocket. It helps recirculate more money into the community and really strengthens community food systems on a triple bottom line. It's a wonderful, wonderful program, time tested, fantastic. We love it. So we'll be supporting that in the Oregon Department of Human Services budget. We will also be showing support for farm to school programming. So we will be showing support for farm to school in 2 agency budgets. They are present in the Oregon Department of Education budget in the main farm to school grant program that gives money to school districts to purchase food from local sources. They're also present in the ODA budget, the Department of Agriculture budget, in the farm to school infrastructure and equipment grant program, which helps small scale producers scale up their infrastructure to meet wholesale and institutional sales demand like farm to school. It's a wonderful, wonderful grant program that helps people get what they need to scale their operation and meet the demand for these institutions, not only to get them ready to sell to farm to school programs into our children's lunchrooms, but also that same equipment could be used in perpetuity at that farm to help them get into other institutional markets like selling to hospitals or restaurants or college campuses or what have you. So the benefits are manyfold, and it just helps us have more options for local food when we are out in the community and participating in those institutions, and it's a great thing. We are also going to continue to support the Oregon Ag Heritage Program, OAHP. It is present in the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board budget And in HB 5039, that is a bill that would increase the state's investment in the Oregon Ag Heritage Program to meet the demand that's currently out there that we know for like ready projects that are at risk of not being able to meet their federal match for these types of land preservation projects. So Oregon Ag Heritage Program is also a time-tested and incredibly helpful project, and we should indeed prioritize preserving our farmland so that we can continue to feed ourselves into the future. So these are our budget priorities. Very happy to answer questions via email if you have them. This is a pre-recorded talk, so whoop. But we will be sending out our budget letter and we'll distribute that publicly as well. It'll be on our website. It'll probably be in our policy emails. So look out for that. Really looking forward to starting that process and making the case for investment in our local food systems. All right. So looking ahead, we will have a mid-session report and updates out next week. That's our goal. There's a lot going on that happened at the end of this deadline, and given that I'm currently at a conference, I have not had a chance to sit down and go through all the bills that were stopped by the first chamber deadline and give you an update on where all the bills that we've talked about in these updates are, but we will have that for you by next week. So look out for that. Really exciting to be able to focus. There are some really exciting things, and there will be some sad things of bills that did not make it past the deadline that we thought were really vital to a thriving community food and farm system here in Oregon. So looking forward to giving you all that analysis and continuing that conversation. All right. So another reminder, this went out in the newsletter last week, but we will also have a pre-recorded Muckboots on April 28th because both myself and my other coworker Brittany will be out at a conference, but we will have a pre-recorded update for you that we'll record the Friday before. And so still tune in to our YouTube channel or subscribe to the calendar invite for this meeting, and you'll be sure to get the recording of the update that week, and it will be the most up-to-date information that we have. Thank you so much for following along, and we will see you next week. Thanks so much.